Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ, presented by FanDuel. Week 16 comes to a close tonight on Monday Night Football when the New Orleans Saints travel up to Green Bay to take on the Packers in prime time. Saints rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler expected to get the start come kickoff, where temperatures are expected to be below freezing. It's an NFC showdown from Lambeau. Let's go ahead and talk about it as we welcome back to the program our guys. It's John Breech and Ryan Wilson. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me for this. I want to start with the temperatures expected to be below freezing come kickoff time. I'm not sure if you saw this, but Saints quarterback coach Andrew Janocko took Rattler and the guys into the cafeteria at the Saints facility and into the freezer, which I guess the temperatures were around 10 degrees. I don't know. But I'm not sure that will help them prepare that much for the conditions out at Lambeau Field. But how are you expecting, Ryan, the weather to play a role in this one tonight?
I'm laughing, Jordan, because if you've taken to going into the freezer to try to find a way to win football games, things are probably pretty dire. And I would say they're pretty dire in New Orleans. Derek Carr is obviously out. Alvin Kamara isn't going to play. Chris Olave's been out for a while. Bud Means, their other receiver, won't play as well. So they're down to the back end of the roster here. I'm a huge Spencer Rattler fan. I love him in the draft process. I actually got a Spencer t-shirt for the podcast when he got his first start. Spencer's 0-3, so it's been tough sledding. He didn't start last week. Jake Haener did, and they benched Jake Haener at halftime, and he came in there. Did lead a touchdown drive late in that game against Washington, that comeback. Had a chance to win it with a two-point conversion that was incomplete. So it's going to be, whatever the weather is, I don't think it matters. They could play indoors in New Orleans, and they would be probably double-digit underdogs like they are going to Green Bay. I just think you have to find a way to get better each and every play, to break out of coachism, because you're playing for the final 3 games, and you're putting your resume on tape, all the things we talk about at this point in the season when players look like they may mail it in. And we can see what they have in Spencer Rattler, because they're going to have some answers or some questions to answer about the quarterback position. Spencer's been okay, but not great. But none of the quarterbacks have. So they're going into a tough circumstance. Look, John, if staying in the freezer makes you better, I suppose staying in the freezer, but I don't know how much better it can make you before you end up getting frostbite.
Oh, Ryan, my favorite part of this is that if the Saints play well tonight, we might see every NFL team practicing in the freezers. I mean, look, the Dolphins have lost 12 straight in cold weather. Mike McDaniel might throw his whole team in the freezer to get them ready for cold weather games if the Saints can pull off the upset. So maybe they'll be setting a new precedent here. But like you said, it is hard to see them winning this game no matter where it's played, whether it's on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, which, by the way, was my Christmas wish, was to get a frozen game at Lambeau, and we are getting that here with New Orleans. And, you know, you look at where the Saints are right now. They don't have their starting quarterback. They don't have their starting running back in Alvin Kamara. They don't have their leading receiver, who is also Alvin Kamara. So basically, you have a bunch of young guys who are going out there to try to beat a 10-win Packers team in frigid temperatures on national television. That is not very conducive for success. So I think that if there is one team that is used to playing in cold weather, it is the Green Bay Packers, because they are used to it, and they are playing a team that is used to playing in a dome. So this feels like a mismatch just because of the temperature. So I think frigid temperatures obviously favor the Packers here.
Yeah, but I don't know, John. You might have cracked the code there. Maybe the freezer is the way to go to prepare for this type of environment. But as you mentioned, Packers used to this type of environment, may work in their favor. They have some added motivation as they can clinch a playoff berth with a win tonight, Ryan. But what needs to really go right for the Packers tonight?
They just need to keep doing what they're doing. And Jordan Love's interesting because he has a history of starting the season slow, and then he gets red hot, and he is absolutely red hot. He's been red hot the last 2 seasons, the second half of those seasons, and just more of that, because when he is playing at his best, they are really hard to stop. And it is crazy as you look at their records here. They're 10-4. There's a 6th seed. If they were in the AFC, they'd be one of the best teams in the AFC, perhaps after the Chiefs and the Bills. They're playing some really good football. They just happen to be in the toughest division in football. And I want to give a lot of credit to Matt LaFleur, who is Breech's Matt LaFleur stand-in whenever they go out in public, because they look exactly alike. But he has taken this team to the playoffs, and when they make the playoffs this time, and I think they will, 5 of the last 6 seasons. And he did it early on with Aaron Rodgers and some disagreements with that franchise quarterback, and he and Jordan Love and this offense appear to be clicking. They have so many good young players at the skill position. The defense is generating turnovers. Josh Jacobs has been a godsend. I would be hard-pressed, Breech, to find a scenario, never say never, but one in which the Saints find a way to win this game if everyone stays healthy.
All right, John, with Derek Carr out injured, we mentioned his name, Spencer Rattler, will be under center tonight. We saw what he was able to do in the second half of last week's game against the Commanders, leading that team to a comeback. Saints hoping that he can provide a little bit of spark for this offense this week, even in these cold conditions that we've been talking about. Where will he find success tonight, John?
Well, it might just be turning around and handing the ball off. If I'm the Saints, I am keeping things simple. I know Alvin Kamara's out, but look, you don't want to put too much on your quarterback when he's only making his 4th career start in a difficult environment when you're playing in these frigid temperatures. So I think the key thing for the Saints here is not to get blown out early. You want to keep this close. Maybe even you jump out to an early lead. That would work well for you. So I think if they can get anything going on the ground and kind of take a little bit control of the game, that would help Spencer Rattler out a lot, because the last thing you want is to be trailing 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, where now you're throwing the ball on every play. The Packers are pinning their tails back and going straight after Rattler. He gets sacked 8 times. And then if this turns into a blowout, the Saints are eliminated from the playoffs. You're playing in cold weather. They don't want to be there anymore. So I think it's just important for the Saints to keep things close in the first half. And then once you do that, you go into halftime with some confidence. So as long as Spencer Rattler isn't out there turning the ball over, no interceptions, no fumbles, I think that they have a fighting chance, but probably still not going to be able to win here.
All right, let's go ahead and put a bow on this, you guys, and look at this game from a gambling perspective. Ryan, as you mentioned it earlier, the Packers heavy 14.5-point favorites. The total is set at 42.5 here. What's your best play for us, Ryan?
So, Jordan, the Packers are 4-0 against the spread when they have a double-digit advantage, but I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under in part because of the weather, not so much of the Packers, but because of the Saints. I think the Packers get up early, but I think they pack it in, pardon the pun, third or fourth quarter, and the starters are out of there like it's a bowl game, and they're letting the other guys play. So I'm going to go under this number as we sit here, although I think they do cover the number.
Ryan, that is an interesting one, because the only thing that scares me away from the under is the Packers might score 45 points on their own in this game, even in the cold weather. But certainly could go under, and the weather will help that. Now, and that is one thing to keep in mind here, is the Packers have a huge game in Week 17 against the Vikings. So if they're up 27-3 in the second half, it makes a lot of sense to get your players on the bench as soon as possible so that they can rest and you don't have to worry about injuries, so you can prepare for that huge game against Minnesota. That being said, we've got a Saints team that's used to playing in a dome, playing outside in the cold. No starting quarterback. Alvin Kamara's out. I have to think that they are going to have a tough time hanging around this game. So I'm going to take the Packers to cover as a 2-touchdown favorite.
All right, last but not least, you guys, we got a same game parlay presented by FanDuel. I'm not sure if you saw the juice on this, but it's Jordan approved. Ryan, you start us off with your leg one for our 3-leg parlay here.
I'm going to stick with the under, Jordan. They're going to pull the starters, but they're going to cover. I'm going to go under.
Number 2, Josh Jacobs' longest run, over 16.5 yards. He's gone over that number in 6 of his past 8 games, and he's going to go up against the Saints defense. I'm going to feel like that cold's going to be bothering them by about the third quarter. That's when he'll break loose for a 25, 30-yard run and hit the over.
All right, I'll bring us home here. I like an anytime touchdown from Juwan Johnson. We have Olave Kamara out. I think he sees a big boost tonight. There's a recap. Look at the juice there. Plus 2,800. We're here for it, you guys. You can go ahead and make this bet on FanDuel. The playoffs are almost here, and there is no better time to get in on all the NFL action than now on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and make every moment more.